Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are ready for this. This is number 56, Ross Jeffries, on the road, in the waves, on the other side with me, your host, Paul Carpenter, and I am so excited to have this gentleman on. If you don't know who he is, I'm sorry for you. If you do, then your life is probably a little bit better because of it. The man is a writer, a scholar, a thinker, an absolute just gem of a human being when you get to talk to him. And I can't wait to introduce him. And I'm doing that right now for episode 56, Mr. Ross Jeffries.
Hey, you forgot world-class super genius.
Yes, that's right. I did. You're right. How are you doing today, my friend?
Well, I just got up from a 30-minute nap, so I'm doing fine.
Great. Well, thank you, Ross, for coming onto the show today. I really do appreciate you. I've been reading your content since I was 13 years old. And so I'm amazed of you as just a person in general, what you did, what you created, and how you took NLP to your own place. Really, it's just I thank you. I thank you for your work.
You're welcome. Send the check.
Yeah. What's that?
Send the check or PayPal, accept check, PayPal, credit card.
I'm sure I've sent enough by now, but I'll send another check if you'd like. Okay, Ross Jeffries. I always ask my guests, who are you? Where do you come from? And what do you do? We are interested. I'd love to know.
Who am I? I'm a human being. I'm a proud Jewish human. After all the horrible anti-Semitism going on, I just went out and bought my Mogan David, which I haven't worn since I was 15. Let's see. My work, I'm not my work, but I work as an author, podcaster, speaker, sales trainer, hypnotist, healer. And then, of course, I teach guys to get laid. You know that. I probably got you laid with my teachings. And I I generally do consider myself to be a wizard of NLP. My NLP-ness is legendary.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, 100% it is. So, where were you born? I know this is probably already very well known knowledge, but where were you born?
In a bed. In an amniotic sac in a bed. You mean where was I born, or where and how was Ross Jeffries born? Because I think they're two different questions.
Paul, yeah, no, I wanted the original. I want to know where Paul was born. And then how did you get into NLP? We'll find out as we go, but I want to know, like, how did you get into NLP? And then, like, what was the structure of building this whole seduction lifestyle and course and all of it,
Well, you asked questions like my mother, 3 at a time. So let's unpack these one at a time. I was originally born in Gardena, California, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. It's near LAX. And Ross Jeffries was born out of my own frustration, pain, shame, inability to get a girlfriend when I was in college and then afterwards. So I stumbled onto NLP in about 1987 and immediately was taken by it. I knew that it was going to be my life's work. I remember having a vision or a visualization and imagery of a hurricane, me being in a hurricane and NLP being this huge palm tree, wrapping my arms around it and being lifted off my feet and saying, I don't care. I'm holding on to this. I'm never letting go. I'm going to master you. And then subsequently, maybe I don't remember the time, it was a long time ago, I met Richard Bandler. He was doing a seminar in San Diego at the time I lived in LA. And a friend of mine, Glenn, had been following Richard for a while, actually facilitating his event, said, hey, here's an opportunity to meet Richard himself. He's doing a stage hypnosis show just for kicks one of the evenings. Come on down and be in and maybe you'll be in the show. So I was in the show. One of the other hypnotists, Don Wolf, hypnotized me and told me every time Richard said Manuel Noriega, who is the dictator of Panama at the time, that dates when this was, I'll jump up and call Richard an asshole, which I did. And so Richard took me backstage after the show and hypnotized me, but I didn't remember what he said. Fast forward to 1998, when Rolling Stone magazine was doing a story on me. And to make a long story short, the reporter said, I want to interview Richard Bandler. I said, Richard won't talk to you. He said, just give me his office number. I can talk to the Pope. I write for Rolling Stone. He called me back and said, I tried talking to Bandler. He kept telling me stories. I kept falling asleep. Doesn't it? So can you give me someone else to talk to? True story. So I had him call John Laval. John Laval had shared a stage with me. John is Richard's training partner to this day. John told him a story. John said that he was there that night and that he was there when Richard took me backstage. Richard hypnotized me. This is back in 1987 or 88. Said, you're going to revolutionize NLP. You're going to take it in a whole new field, create a whole new field. And he gave me amnesia for it. So I didn't remember it. And I said, John, now I remember. The whole thing came back to me. And John said, yeah, the boss has had his eye on you for 10 years. Watch and see what happens now. He approves of what you do. And then subsequently, I got Rolling Stone did a story, Penthouse did a story, Playboy did a story. Tom Cruise played me in the movie Magnolia. I don't know if you can see that that's Tom back there. And things took off for me.
So you had, at that point, you had already studied some NLP and you met Richard, and that's when you started writing the seduction ideology?
I wouldn't call it an ideology. I didn't call it Speed Seduction until 93 or 94. It's when I came up with the brand. And then 94, I jumped the gun early. I was an early adapter. I had a computer hacker who was a fan of mine. He said, you need to get in the World Wide Web. I said, what the fuck is that? He said, just go get seduction.com. So I got seduction.com, and that's where people come today to get coaching with me and buy my products, et cetera, et cetera. So I've had seduction.com since 94, which is how many years? I don't know, coming up on 30.
Yeah. Wow. And that's still running today. Like if we go to that website now, that's this website, I believe, right here.
Yep, that's it.
There we go. And you've had this 30 plus years.
Well, we changed it over the years. We had different iterations.
Sure, of course. Man, so when do you feel, I guess, is the question, that the general public, maybe the next iteration of seduction came to be, that wasn't really part of what you wanted it to be and how you intended it to be? Because from everything that I know about you and when I read your stuff, you're always about being honest and real at the beginning, because if you can't do it now at the beginning, then what if the relationship does build, bloop,
No, let me correct you.
Sure.
There's the distinction between being honest and there's a distinction between being dishonest and being covert. I'm very covert in what I teach and even how I teach. I don't teach live events. I do very expensive one-on-one consulting because I'm in demand. I've been doing this a long time. I'm the most expensive coach and trainer, either for sales. I have my book, Subtle Words That Sell. We're going to tell you how to get a free copy of that at some point during the show. Don't put it up yet because we got to focus. I do believe in being covert without being dishonest. So dishonest means you conceal material facts, you lie about material facts, etc. Covert means you're simply very clever in crafting your communication to get through to someone's unconscious mind. Because as I teach my salespeople, you're never selling your product or service. You're always selling decisions and good feelings about decisions. And that's true whether you're selling a woman on the idea of fucking your brains out. I hope I can say that. Otherwise, you're
Nah, I don't care.
Or whether you're selling people on a decision to, I don't know, sign up for $1 million contract. Doesn't matter. It's the same process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So when I said honesty, I think I meant that for if you wanted to have a long-term relationship with somebody.
I don't know shit about that, Paul. I never, let me make it very clear. I never, ever said I'm an expert on real hate shunships. I never said that.
Okay. No, I mean, I don't know that I said that you did. I was just saying that I think that I thought I read that somewhere in your literature, somewhere along the way, that if you were to want to go into a long-term relationship, you would.
Yes, of course, but you can be honest without being revealing. You want to remain sort of a puzzle piece, a question mark, at least in the beginning. If you, Voltaire said, the secret of being a bore is to give everything away at once, and I agree with that.
Totally agree. So okay, so let's get back, if you don't mind. I know you kind of already went through it. You said it was because you were, but I'm still trying to connect the pieces of when the passion hit, right? Which you said you already knew that you were going to do it
right away.
But you've written 13 books, I think, or something. I don't know if I've counted right.
I've written 3.
Oh, I have. No, I have. Okay, so how to get? Man, I'll just show you the page I'm looking at, and you tell me I'm wrong, and tell me which ones of these are yours, and which one of these are people stealing your stuff.
Okay.
Here we go. How to get women you desire into bed.
Yes.
Secrets of Speed Seduction Mastery.
Yes.
So subtle words that sell. How to get? That's also, but that's not Speed Seduction.
That's under Ross Jeffries. I did a newer version under my real name, Ross. What's the next one?
Speed Seduction: How to Seduce Any Woman in 20 Minutes or Less.
I didn't write that. That's someone ripping off my trademark.
Wow.
I've only written 3. Okay. I've only written 3. Those
3 at the top. There they are. Right. Got them. Okay. No, I just wanted to make that sure. But
there's more. But I want to interject. The more interesting question for me is not my origin story. The more interesting question for me is what's kept me passionate after 34 years of doing this, or 35 years of doing this. What has kept me passionate? That's the more interesting question.
Well, no, I was totally going to get there. I'm just trying to find out from the point of passion to the point of like getting down to the nitty gritty of writing it. So there's a journey there that happens, right? Of you, not only, you see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to find out about.
Yeah, they happen, Paul, they happen simultaneously. I didn't just get passionate about it and start writing about it. They happen as I went out and I did discoveries. I would take notes and put it in a journal or a diary. So in a sense, that first book is a combination of what I was discovering in the moment I wrote it, but also the experiences I built upon as I was getting ready to write the book.
Okay. Right. No, that was my question. That was my question. Did it happen first learn and then do? It was, like you said, it was a both at the same time kind of thing. So that's great. And then the next question is, at what point does the book get popular? And then at what point does the whole Neil Strauss thing happen and then that kind of, I don't know. I feel like it kind of it pulled you away instead of giving you the light that it should have. And like I said, this is my feelings. I feel on some level that the later subsequent PUA style people didn't really go by what you were really trying to create. Or am I wrong?
Well, first of all, once again, that's 3 things compounded, but I'm sharp enough to handle it. So I prefer you do one at a time, but I can take all 3.
Okay.
You asked how the book exploded, How to Get the Women You Desire into Bed. I started getting on TV talk shows. I wrote an ad in a magazine. There was a magazine at the time called Radio TV Interview Report. It was the Bible of every radio and TV talk show producer. This is back in 1990. Do you understand? It wasn't where they actually had guests to talk about substantive, forget it, issues. And so I wrote an ad that said, "Women hate nice guys," says sex book author. "Interview the man who turns wimps and geeks into supercharged macho studs." And as you can imagine, that got every producer calling me Donahue, who at the time was as big as Oprah. Their producer called me and said, "We want you on the show. We're going to fax you a contract. Can you get access to a fax? It says an agreement that says you won't be on any other show but ours until you're on ours. Then you can go on any show you want." And 3 days later, I was on Donahue live, and then it went out recorded the next day. And then my phone rang off the hook for like 2 years. So I got millions of dollars of free publicity and made a nice chunk of change there. Now, you asked a question about Neil's book. That book came out in 2005. Listen, Neil didn't portray me in the best light, but I don't give a fuck. Because of the publicity and all the leads from that book, I had to have made $500,000 at least. So if you want to write a book calling me a pig fucking communist, dickless Scientologist, nah, don't call me a Scientologist, a devil worshiper, go ahead, just write that check for $500,000 and you can call me whatever you want.
Right. Okay. Now, but you're saying that but you made that $500,000 based off of people that came to you afterwards that were like, "Oh, that's the originator. Let's go to him." Right. It wasn't like Neil gave you a check
from Neil's book. Yes. No, Neil didn't write me anything. And the third part of your question, I think it had to do with the PUA community that grew out of that. Did you ask that? I think it's metastasized into some horrible things. There's some smart people in it. I think the next person to come along that didn't quite knock me off my perch, but sort of nudged me a little bit, was Mystery. I consider Mystery, I don't believe in his method, but I consider him to be an original. Everyone else is pretty much ripping off that, or they're now in the manosphere. The manosphere is comprised of people who are red pill people. You know, they take the red pill, and the red pill teaches them that women are sneakier than men, which in a sense is true. A whole bunch of stuff I'm not prepared to talk about. Or there are guys who teach lifestyle, that if you want to get women, change your situation, work out, build a social circle, make more money, take good care of yourself, that's all fine. That to me is not going to do the trick. A lot of my VIP clients, I work with maybe 3 people a quarter. That's every 90 days. I do 90 days to at least 5 lays, one-on-one coaching. And they're all guys who've already had several girlfriends. They're coming out of a divorce or a long-term relationship, and the world's changed since they first were single. So, and they don't have time to build a social circle. They're very busy professionals, or they're running their own businesses. They don't have time to go to bars or to build a social circle or so they need something else. And that's where Speed Seduction comes in, which is the art and science, sort of a science, the art and technology of teaching how to use your language to create states of consciousness in a woman very quickly. Because my teaching is women see us through the emotions they feel for us. Women respond to us from the states of consciousness, like focus, incredible connection, desire, etc., etc. They respond to us from those states. And I believe the quickest way to do that is with structured, deliberate use of your language.
Totally agree. I was just saying this with my mom this morning, as a matter of fact. She's like, "You know what? You should go out and get whatever you want in life." And I was like, "Whoa, I don't know. I don't know if I take that the right way. I think it's more about it's not about just taking whatever you want, because you can take in many different negative ways. I think it's what you accept in your life that defines what your life is. And that's also in the words that you use and how you interact with people. So I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, I've been studying it my whole life, in some way, shape, or form. trying to be the best I can with communication with others. I falter at it sometimes, but whatever.
I think life, this is just my model, and everything I teach is only a model. I think sometimes we write the story of our lives, and sometimes fact of the matter is life writes our stories for us. So we have to find a balance between pushing and pulling and tugging on our external circumstances, and sometimes going inward and accepting that there's situations thrown our way that there's nothing we can do about it. And it takes a really good guide, a good coach, a good mentor who's been through that shit to give you some idea which is which and then how to handle it in both directions. Is that a dog or a cat you've got in the room back?
It's my dog. It's Moose. Moose is very well known on the show. Here, come here, Poo Poo. Let's come here. This is my little dachshund Chihuahua. And I've had him for like 3 years now, and he rides with me on my motorcycle everywhere. And we've traveled from Houston all the way down to Key West, back to New Orleans. We're in New Orleans currently.
I'm a crazy cat guy.
You're a crazy what, dog?
Cat guy. I'm a crazy cat
guy. Yeah. Yeah, no, he was raised with 3 kittens, so he loves cats. So it's a thing. So Russ, what's it like to come from this place, right, where you're like constantly giving this knowledge to others? I mean, that's got to give you some kind of massive fulfillment, knowing that other people who weren't able to. Go ahead.
My fulfillment comes from, first of all, being massively creative. I'm creative by nature. I've gone through periods of deep depression, deep elation, periods of just being even, and I'm just creative, and by nature, I'm restlessly creative. I love being creative. To an extent, it's a boon. To another extent, it's a bane, because to track it and organize it is such a challenge. Because if I monetized everything I created, dude, I'd be rolling it. But I just have not been able to do all of that because there's just so much of it. That's number one. But number two, yes, I love seeing the changes that I get with people. I work with a client. So when I teach and coach on the sales side, I work with people who have sales teams. There's different things I work on. This guy increased his sales by 646%. I did it. I did most of the work. It was a combination of done with you and done for you. If you go to paulrossresults.com and play that video, it's like a minute long, and you'll see for yourself. I'm not making it up. It's paulrossresults.com. So to hear that kind of success because of my work makes me very, very happy. That's a life-changing success. That means all the people who work for him commission improve their level, their quality of life, and the service he provides, which is really, really good, gets to improve more quality of life. And that's very satisfying. When I do healing work, it's very satisfying. Yeah, there he is, Caleb.
Hi, I'm Caleb Jones. I own several companies, including 2 online brands, Alpha Male 2.0 and Sovereign CEO. And we sell coaching programs, among other things. And we use telephone sales to close on those sales. And back in May, before we worked with Paul, our close rate with our salespeople on the phone for these programs was 13%. So not that great. So we brought in Paul. Paul worked with our sales team. And within 2 months, by July, May, June, July, that's right, July, our close rate went from 13% to 84%. So multiples better, not just a 10 or 20% improvement, but many times, many multiples of improvement just after working with Paul for a few weeks. Now, on top of that, we had another team, still do, who do email sales, cold email outreach. And we were getting pretty dismal open rates on our emails. I don't remember the exact number, but Paul worked with them, rewrote the emails, rewrote some of the titles and the subject lines of these emails. And within literally, I believe, just a few weeks, maybe even less, our email open rate increased by over 300%. I think the exact number is somewhere around 320, 330% after working with Paul and making the tweaks and making this.
I think you get the idea. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I think you muted yourself.
Yeah, I did because the dogs were running around, and I wanted this
like that.
Right when I said. Oh my goodness! There we go. Okay, so
wait till it's quiet enough for me to talk.
Yeah, give me a second. Give me a second. All right, so
if you calculate it from 13% to 84% is a 646% improvement. By the way, if you're interested in working with me based on what you saw, it's speakerpaulross/apply. You might want to put that there. I really do only work with people who are already doing a high 7 figures or close to it to 8 figures. And I work on a purely commission basis. So there's no upfront fee. You only pay me a percentage of the difference. So that's a pretty good deal. As you can imagine, I only take a few applicants. I work with 3 people a quarter, 3 people every 90 days. It's a total of 12 people a year because I do so much work as I put into Caleb's team. So that's speakerpaulross/apply. If you will go,
speakerpaulross.com/apply.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty. I loved working with Caleb's team. He's a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun.
And that's this page right here, I believe. Here we go. For anybody who wants to check it out, paulross.com/apply. And here you can talk to Paul, send in your information. And if he is interested, he will come to you and call you.
It's for people who already have a successful sales process and they're already doing 7 figures, maybe multiple 7. Because my fee, the percentage, it has to be worth my while since I only get paid on percentage.
Sure. Yeah, no, and then the other thing is, I might even have somebody for you who's in that realm of doing sales calls and that kind of thing, and having a big, he owns a big marketing company. They do pay per call advertising. So they have like big phone rooms with people answering all different types of ads. But that was my next point. I wanted to try and make that the information that you learned isn't just for seduction, isn't just for quote unquote manipulation or whatever somebody wants to say. You could use it for and I don't take manipulation to be a bad word in any way, shape, or form. I'm a magician. I manipulate like crazy, and I do it. I think it all comes down to intent and where you're coming from as a person, right? And what you're really trying to create. They say hurt people. So if you're coming from that place, then yeah, of course, you're just going to be a screwed up human being that's using these techniques to, manipulate and hurt other people, which is why they're called con men, and not, therapists or gods.
I've had some therapists who are, I wouldn't call them con men or con women. They mean well, but I've had a therapist who's helped me tremendously using something called DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. It's the only form of therapy that's ever worked for me. Hypnosis didn't do it. NLP didn't do it. DBT did it. But we can talk about that a little bit later in this. But I also want to talk about some of the other cool shit we talked about.
I know, man. I have so much. I know we only have an hour. I know you don't have a lot of time, but
I'll give you a little more. I need to talk to my attorney about this big deal I'm working on, but let's keep going.
Yeah, man. Cool. Yeah. So I want to know, you mentioned it earlier, so maybe we'll do that now. for people who want your book, and we could just pop that up, and if they want, they can go check out your website. This was, let me see if I can find it here.
PaulRossBook.com.
Yep.
So if you want to grab,
yeah, I got it here.
If you want to get a download PDF, instant download of my book, Subtle Words That Sell, you can go there. It also comes with some other goodies. We call it the Rapid Sales Accelerator. It comes with a video training on destroying objections and some other shit. Don't worry about that. Just go grab the download of the book. That's not it.
This is Speaker Paul Ross. Yep, sorry.
Go to PaulRossBook.com. There's so many URLs. It's bewildering.
I mean, I'm saying you have a ton of them, man. I mean, how do you even keep up? It's like, but I mean, I guess on some level, you go with the Paul Ross name, because if people were to look up your other name, they would see this other thing, and then they would.
I don't care. I make no bones about the fact that I'm also Ross Jeffries.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe the corporate world. Oh my God.
Corporate world. You know what? Fuck them in the ass. I don't care if they can't take the fact that I only deal with people. It's not enough to be able to make enough money to suffice for my egregious fee. You also have to have a certain mindset. I'm not going to work with people no matter how well I'll get paid, unless you can just click off that page. There's no point distracting people.
Sure, no problem.
I only want to work with people who are cutting edge thinkers, who want to challenge themselves. They're not happy with their very best. They know there's more they can do to move the needle, but they have to be unconventional in their thinking and step outside of their success zone, not their comfort zone, but their success zone. I think people get caught on what's working for them, when there could be a completely different paradigm shift that would exponentially, like Caleb, when I talked to him, I said, look, I'll increase your sales by 30% in 90 days as a promise, or I'll work with you until I do. But Caleb, I'll increase them by 200% for sure. He didn't expect over 600%, but what I do really well. But let's dive into things like AI and altered states of consciousness and all that cool shit we talked about.
Yes, let's do it. So, there's so much to touch upon.
And UFOs, because I want to talk at some point about my close encounter. I know you probably don't believe in that.
I want to go with that right now. How old were you and when?
You don't believe in that stuff, do you?
I totally believe in UFOs. 100%.
All right. So I was about 8 years old, and I was sitting in my father's easy chair in my parents' bedroom. I don't remember what time it was. It was nighttime. And all of a sudden, the whole sky, it took up you couldn't see anything but this thing just floated silently past the backyard. It wasn't a balloon. It wasn't a blimp, because we lived about 10 miles from where the Goodyear blimp was launched at Carson, where it was moored. So I knew what the blimp looked like. It passed over much higher many times. This thing changed shape, it changed color. But here's the weird thing. I got a very strong sense that it knew that it was looking at me. It knew I was looking at it, and it was looking at me. I just got this sense. I can't describe it. The whole thing was terrifying to me. There's two kinds of fear. There's the fear that if I said to you, Paul, there's a hungry lion who hasn't eaten in 10 days behind that door, I'm going to open the door, and you believe me, that's one kind of fear. If I said, Paul, there's an evil spirit that's about to melt its way through the wall, and you believe me, that's a different kind of fear. It's the fear of the unknown. It was like intellectual rape. It didn't fit into any category of anything I knew. But the weirdest part of the story comes the next night. The next night, I was sitting there in the same chair trying to figure out what happened. And I heard this voice in my head. And it wasn't my own voice. I heard a voice in my head say, your problems in school are going to go away and your IQ is going to go up. At the time, I was having emotional problems. They were in. And so it gave me an exercise to do. It said, imagine all your problems when you go to sleep at night, before you go to sleep, when you're laying in bed. Imagine all your problems are like a giant circle on your forehead. And every night, imagine it shrinking and shrinking till it shrinks down to a little dot, and then it will disappear. and you'll be able to learn, and all your learning problems will go away and your IQ will go up. Now I did it, and sure enough, my learning problems disappeared. What the fuck was? No idea. I don't know what that was. If you said to me, Ross, if there was someone in the room with a camera, would it have been able to film that thing when it showed up? I'd say, I don't know. What happened was that my collective unconscious projecting it because I wanted to believe in UFOs. I don't know. I have no idea. All I know, it was a fucking freak out experience. And then I saw them much later. I had a friend who thought he was nut job. He used to take people out to Area 51 right when there was still, you could see some of the test range. And we saw weird shit. It was nighttime, so you couldn't see a shape, but you could see how it was moving. This, making right turns and either disappearing or going so fast you couldn't follow its motion. So I definitely believe something weird is going on. I don't know what it is. I suspect it's not from this world or from this dimension. You're muted again.
There's so much out there that, you know, I mean, look, we haven't even touched like what, 80% of the ocean, let alone the universe. We haven't even gotten to a smidgen of the outside of our own Earth, let alone the moon a couple times. 7 or so times, supposedly. Who knows? Even if that's real, I don't know. You know, there's people who don't believe we ever landed on the moon, even.
People are fucking idiots.
I don't know. The first one is a little iffy. Everything after that, I'm in. But the first one is a bit iffy. There's some iffy stuff there.
What, landing on the moon? Of course we landed on the moon.
The first one, yeah. The first one, there's a lot of iffy stuff out there, man. That's what I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
For instance, the one that really twerks me is that the actual data from the recorded film stock that they used to use, those big magnetic strip, you know, they copied over it. And it doesn't exist anymore. The originals.
For what? For what?
So the NASA flight we're talking about Apollo 11, man.
Dude, if we're going to get into this, I'm going to fucking hang up. Because of course we went to the moon. Of course, laser reflectors. I just said
certainty. I just said there's some stuff out there that makes you go, I don't know. It's a little weird. That's all. Let's talk about this, because this is something that's very interesting to me. You have never used psychedelics. Like, I don't believe you've ever been.
I've used mushrooms before when I was in college, and I didn't enjoy throwing up, but they were definitely enjoyable for me.
But you've never gone any further with psychedelics or anything like that. That was it.
LSD. I had a very bad experience with LSD. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. It just felt like there were hammers. It was the most physically painful experience of my life. And someone told me they cut it with strychnine. They did. That really wasn't LSD.
Well, no wonder.
Yeah. So I don't consider that a real LSD trip. I wouldn't mind.
No, I think that was more of a mean person in your life, you know.
With the right set and the right setting, I would try LSD.
Okay. And would you do ayahuasca or no?
No, absolutely not. Because that's something that goes on and on and on and on. Ayahuasca, as you know, essentially it takes DMT. If you smoke DMT, it's out of your system in 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. But ayahuasca, the way I understand it, prevents DMT from leaving your system. So it's in there for hours and hours. And I don't like the idea of vomiting. You don't vomit when you take LSD. You projectile vomit and shit yourself. And I don't want to do that. And then
I don't know how many times I've been to so many ceremonies. I've not seen anybody shit themselves, and I've only seen 1 or 2 people vomit. I personally only vomited after drinking 4 cups. But mind you, each cup is 3 hours in between each other. So you take a cup, you accept the journey, and then you can end that space there. And it's about a 2 or 3 hour journey. Whereas once again, if you smoke like Changa or DMT, yeah, it's a 15-minute, powerhouse. I call it, I don't know, like a jet to the universe. You're there, you experience. I think that if you do it enough, you can start to understand the different. I don't know if you really understand, but you can start to sense different realms of understanding or even existence, and things that are way out of our norm. I don't know if we should be playing in that realm. There's that thought,
There are people who have pretty fractured sense of self already. And if you fracture it further with a psychedelic experience, who knows what kind of damage that could do. I don't think it's something to be played with lightly. Marijuana, I don't smoke, but I did a little bit after college. I get it. But it's not good to use chronically anyway.
Sure.
I think some of this stuff is really powerful. My concern about ayahuasca is some of this is drug tourism, and the people who administer it are not qualified to be doing it. They're just in it for the cash. And how you distinguish who's a shaman and who's just someone who's promoting drug tourism? How do they even determine if someone's psychologically strong enough to do the experience? I think, I don't know what the parameters are, the protocols are, the safety protocols are for someone to go in and do it. If someone's already borderline psychotic or schizoid or whatever it is, I don't like the psychiatric labels, but let's just use them, then it can be very dangerous. I think, I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass.
No, I'm with you. There's it all depends on who you talk to. So there are those who are shamans that I've talked to, I've known, that are from the Amazon, that have been doing it, their entire lives since they were 13 years old. And they will tell you that schizophrenia is a form of not connecting to your soul or to your source. And the divine Mother Earth, by using her, will get you back to yourself. Now, there's also Dr. Gabor, who's very, very well known. And he does a lot of stuff with ibogaine, which is another plant medicine-based type, remedy. And then there's also another friend of mine. His name is Colin Reef. And over the past 4 years, 5-6 years, he's been putting out all of the different documentation from all the studies that have been done. He studied at Emory University, and he's now the head professor of psychiatry at NYU. And he's also very, very much into using. But once again, that is not what you were saying. It's not. It's the total opposite. It's the antithesis of it, if anything, right? So it's we're looking at people who are administering only a certain amount with somebody who they've spoken to, somebody who's a well-known psychiatrist, psychologist. And there are those places, But then again, there are the other ones like stuff that's happening right now in the Yucatan Peninsula, Cancun, where it is a party. It's becoming a party drug, weirdly.
That's extremely dangerous. I only know of one or two people. Well, one person in my world who's done ayahuasca. Oddly enough, he's a very, very fundamentalist evangelical Christian, and I think his thinking is pretty crazy anyway. Who knows? Who knows what realms you're opening yourself up to? Maybe they're demonic realms. You don't know. Sure. I don't know if I believe in any of that, but nothing comes without risk. I personally find my altered states or my most important states from meditating. I've had direct experience, small, not big. They call it stream entry, like the beginning stages of enlightenment in Buddhism. Mm-hmm. I've had the direct experience of the distinction between self and world disappearing. I've had the direct experience of any sense of the self as a thing in there disappearing. I've experienced the expansion and contraction, the fundamental opposites that shape all of reality. For me, meditation, what I do is vipassana. It's Buddhist insight meditation. It's not sexy. It's not thunderbolts and lightning or any of that. In fact, the Buddhist teaching is if you experience gods and goddesses and psychic powers, you're to ignore it. You're to treat it with equanimity and mindfulness, the same way you would treat a pain in your foot that arises. Don't get trapped in those realms of Sambhogakaya, they call it, the realm of glory. Stay out of it. View it as a
100%. Very much like the Jainists. I like to talk about them a lot. I don't know if you've studied anything about the Jainists.
Anyone who whisks flies and out of their way is going a little bit extreme on nonviolence.
Yeah, but I'm all about that ideology. I don't know that I'm going to actually carry a broom around with me and swipe each time I walk, but I understand the idea of not wanting to leave a footprint, not wanting to create too many ripples of negative intention. Okay. I mean, I don't know. That's me. I don't want to, at least. I'm not sure that I get anything good out of it. You know, I've faltered in the past. I've hurt people in the past with words or with
hurting people can be necessary in this world. Personally, right now, I would like to hurt Hamas. I would like to kill every single member of Hamas as quickly, as slowly and as painfully as I could. I would like to kill all the people who want to destroy the Jewish people. I would not hesitate to either facilitate it or to do it.
I don't understand it. It's like, if we're talking about this leftist ideology, which is out to save the smallest of the small, they should be the ones championing more so than anyone else for the Jews. Who's been slaves more and longer? Who's been more downtrodden? Who's been more kicked out? There's not a group of. Go ahead.
We're the minority who has the balls to actually be successful and not to cry about being oppressed, even though we have been. We don't say we've been victims, therefore you owe us a handout. That's the problem. Because the people who do say we're victims, therefore you need to shut up, we get to dictate policy, they look at us as a threat. How dare you, successful minority? Or the right wing says you're successful, you cheated to get there.
Yeah.
We're just smarter, better, good looking, and hung like horses. That's just the way it is.
The truth hurts. No, I'm just kidding.
The larger point is violence and force have a place in this world. Sometimes the world only makes sense when you force it to. That's a quote from Batman.
I totally agree with that. I'm not opposing the nature of needing to be forceful in certain situations or in certain moments. I think that's boundaries. That's just understanding boundaries and understanding what you want and what you won't accept. And if somebody comes at you a certain manner, sometimes you have to match that level, or you have to, completely flip it on its head. And sometimes, you have to be a little angry. And a little negative in life. I'm personally the kind of. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm a gun owner. It would get us kicked off this platform if I pulled out my weapons and showed them to you. But I'm, as a Jew who no longer feels safe, I'm going to apply for my concealed carry permit so I can pass.
And I don't know if that's the rules. Is that the rules that you can't show a gun?
In the People's Republic of California, you don't need a permit to own a gun and keep it in your home. But if you want,
I'm talking about on camera, because I'm on, like, I don't know how many platforms I'm on. I'm sure one. I don't know what they would do.
Stupid enough to show a potential.
No,
I'm not going to show people what I own. I would simply say, you want to come after me? I have 9 friends who are at my side at all times, who travel about 700 miles an hour, who can dissuade you from fucking with me.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. I think that people sometimes don't recognize that we have the First Amendment, so we can be willing to speak. I know. Well, I'm going to get to that one. Willing to speak. our own political ideology, but we have the Second Amendment for when other people speak their political ideology that is obviously one that, yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. One that is not congruent with the rest. That needs to be combated, unfortunately, but real life. That just needs to. It's we do not live in a world where everybody's kumbaya and everybody's hands are together and we're all loving each other. It doesn't. It doesn't. That's not the world we live in. And to think, and for people to think that that's where we are, so that's where they're coming from, and their premise doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
No.
Look, let's get forward. Let's go forward. Let's go forward thinking here. Where are you in creating new stuff with like the seduction world and neuro-linguistic programming?
We're
working on something already. You already got it out there.
We're beta testing it with a select group of like about 450 people. I have to talk to my partner in this today. But we have built a Speed Seduction AI. So, and it answers about 80% like me. It really does. It's insane. It's not like you can talk to me directly, which is the ideal thing, but this is 24-hour access to me. And it's pretty cool. Right now, we're just giving it to a select group of people, but think about the potential for that. There are a million guys out there who would love to talk to me and not go through a course, not bother to go through a whole course, but to get their specific question answered. My partner came to me a year ago. He said, look, this is like right now your blockbuster video and Netflix is coming along. You may as well become Netflix and make yourself obsolete, which is true, which is absolutely true. Now, you can't do that for sales training, and you want intricate stuff. If you want intricate coaching that where you can get me, that's different. But AI is fantastic. I don't know what point AI, if ever, will get to general AI, where it can do things that you didn't program it to do, and it's conscious, whatever that means. But I think we're headed that way much faster than people think.
That would be a great question to ask you is, so when we talk about general artificial intelligence, which would be that first layer, and then super artificial intelligence would be the next layer, the general intelligence ideology, what would, I keep saying that word, but what do you think is consciousness in that for you?
For humans? For humans?
Yeah, for us. Yeah, for us, because we can't define that before we define it for us, I don't think.
I don't know if it works the same way, but Roger Penrose has written about this, how consciousness actually takes place when the wave function on a quantum level collapses. It's that collapse that is consciousness. I suggest everyone go on YouTube, type in Roger Penrose consciousness, and you'll hear him speak about this quite elegantly. He's got a mentor or a partner who writes with him about this. It makes a lot of sense to me. See, I'm an atheist. I deny the existence of any God whatsoever. Buddha, Jesus. Well, Thor could be real because he's in all those cool movies, those cool Marvel movies. So he's got to be real. However, I'm not a materialist. I don't believe everything is just stuff. And enough of my own weird experiences, I suspect that there are other realms, as you would call them. How we can access them and not be deluded by our own fantasies and imagination, I don't know. So, but that being said, I think there's now a non-material explanation for consciousness. A
non-material. So
consciousness is not simply a function of the brain. The brain is a way of narrowing what comes in. But I think consciousness has a local, meaning produced by the brain, and a non-local component. There's a very famous Czech psychiatrist named Stan Grof. He wrote a book called Beyond the Brain. He did early experiments with LSD, and he gave them to his patients, and they all described the birth process and many of them spoke different languages while they were having the experience that they didn't understand. It was very weird shit. I'm surprised you never heard of Stan Groff.
This sounds like I know this story or know this study. It sounds really familiar to me. I was more into Strauss and the stuff that he was doing in the 90s with DMT and reading about that kind of stuff. But I have heard, and I also studied a lot more about the MK Ultra acid kind of stories and what they were doing there. And
for sure, for sure, bacon, as the Swedish would say. Sure, bacon. That's for true. Yeah. That's shit all happened. And there's no reason to believe that kind of stuff isn't still going on.
Right. Turn that on. All right, good. So, wow. Okay, Ross. So, where are you when you say that this other part of you is not connected to you? It's somewhere outside of you.
I don't know. This is Roger Penrose.
No, I know, but I mean, you said that you kind of agree with it, but you also say you're an atheist, agnostic, or atheist, right? Or what do you consider yourself, agnostic?
An atheist. If you define an atheist as someone who denies the existence, I'll be more specific. I deny the existence of any god, goddess, or gods who created the universe and or who intervene in human history and or want to be worshipped or obeyed. Why would the creator of the entire cosmos, not just the macroverse, but the microverse, I'm talking about quantum mechanics, quarks, bosons, mesons, all the weird stuff in quantum mechanics, care where I put my penis, get angry if I eat bacon, being Jewish, and want to be worshipped and adored and obeyed? It's absurd on the face of it. It's so absurd that it can't possibly be true. Now you ask, so where does the non-local aspect of consciousness come from? I don't know. I don't even know if that question can ever intelligibly arise or intelligently be answered. I don't know. I have about 5 more minutes. I'm expecting to hop on a call with my attorney.
Yeah, no, you're good. I told you we had about an hour. So, no, it's great. Listen, if you need to go, it's fine. I want to thank you so much, Ross, for even hanging out with me for a little bit of time and sharing the things you did with me and getting to even just chat with you and just hang out. It was super fun, man. I really enjoyed it. Let me share all the stuff again so people can see it, and we can let them go through all of these different things. There is the Paul Ross book, which if you go to it, you can get the free PDF book, and there's also a video there he talked about. There is Speed Seduction, which is the website he's had for 30 some odd plus years that you can check out and see. What's that?
Seduction. It's seduction.com.
Yeah, sorry, seduction. But I was saying that Speed Seduction is what you teach. But you're right, I'm with you. And then there was also the Paul Ross book, if that's right, I believe. And last but not least, no, that wasn't. That was all of them. I think that's all.
No, there's speaker Paul Ross /apply. If you're doing at least 7 figures and you've got an unconventional way of thinking and you'd like to apply for me to train you and or your sales team. But again,
and I told that one earlier, but let me see if I can bring it back up real quick.
Speaker Paul Ross /apply. I am the most egregiously high charging because I take a fat percentage of the increase I create for you.
Right.
I'm the most egregiously high charging trainer you'll ever be glad you hired.
Well, that's great. No. And then, I mean, doesn't that at the same time, when you were saying earlier, you're like, if I would have, what did I do here? What did I speaker maybe?
Speaker Paul Ross /apply.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read it up. We'll do it again. It's paulross.com. There we go. For those who want to have Paul check out you, once again, only 7-figure companies and above is what you're looking for. for anybody who's out there who's looking at this.
Yeah. Entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur, that sort of thing. Entrepreneur, sales training company, I don't care. But you have to have a successful sales process in place. If you're super high six figures, if you're doing like 900, 800, 750K a year, I'm not going to turn you down. But it's got to be super high six figures to 7.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good. I'm sure we'll find somebody out there that'll knock on your door. And I have a couple contacts for you for, like I said, for that might be interested in speaking with you.
Okay. So you need that. I need to get off and talk to my attorney about a big deal. So
no problem, man. I wish you well with it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Seriously. Thank you so much for doing the time with me, man. I really appreciate it, Ross.
My joy.
All right.
Bye.
We'll see you later, man. Bye-bye. Oh my God. I say it every time. I say it every episode. It is the best thing ever, right? I mean, come on. It's not like you're not just getting some info. It's like, this is the thing. I don't want to have just regular conversations with people of this, that. I want to have real ones, and like that's where it's at. And Ross, bro, how honest, how real, how raw, and I love the fact that he doesn't care that what the corporate world thinks while he's over here doing the speed seduction. He's like, yeah, I'll sell stuff for you. And I'll also do. He doesn't care because and I think it comes from a place of like when you're secure in yourself and you're like, I mean, if you've been doing something for 30 years and making money at it, it's not like you're going to get stopped pretty quickly on that one. You're just going to keep moving forward. So, my friends, if you don't mind, please go out in the world, do something nice for somebody else. And if you can't, do something nice for yourself. It does start with you. Number 2, don't get caught up in all the crazy stuff in this world, because if you do, then you end up crazy. It's not good for you or me, and that's not good for anybody. And number 3, if you would not mind, please like, share, subscribe, send this out to somebody who would like to see it. I thank you very, 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 very much for watching. I would like to thank my 2 sponsors. One of them is Kitty Spice. She gave $250. Thank you very much. Isaac, episode 24, he does $50 a month. And anybody else who wants to sponsor, let me know. Or if you want to, actually do a podcast, but you don't know what you're doing, then you can use StreamYard. Look in the description down below. My link is there. You buy it. I get something kicked back. You get a discount. Everybody's happy. That was the show. My friends, thank you again from the bottom of my heart for watching. I will see you all on the other side.